Top stories tonight in Y News. The Interagency Task Force against COVID-19 allows the deferment of the reopening of cinemas amid the opposition of Metro Manila mayors.
President Rodrigo Duterte has now decided to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in public to help boost vaccine confidence.
34 hospitals to get the initial batch of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines to the COVAX facility. One of the new COVID-19 variant cases in the country is linked to the Metro Rail Transit Line 3 cluster of virus infection.
Foreigners with valid visas to be allowed to enter the country starting tomorrow.
And the United Arab Emirates' first mission in Mars has returned its first picture of the red planet. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, February 15, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte is now willing to get vaccinated against COVID-19 in public. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
To build vaccine confidence in the country, President Rodrigo Duterte changed his mind and is now willing to be inoculated against COVID-19 in public. However, Malacanang says there's no particular date yet on when the chief executive will be immunized.
Well, I think the president has said that he will now have himself vaccinated publicly. He only has to announce when it will be done. And that's, of course, in recognition of the fact na nag-aantay ng sinyalis ang taong bayan, no, kung talaga sila ay magpapabakuna o hindi. So I think that is a policy that we will now pursue.
It was August 2020 when the president first mentioned that he is willing to receive the vaccine developed by the Russian Gamaleya Institute when it arrives in the country. But Malacanang said last month that the president wanted it to be in private. On February 23, 600,000 doses of Sinovac Biotech vaccines donated by China to the Philippines will arrive. While there is no exact date yet as to when the 117,000 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines through COVAX facility will be shipped to the Philippines, but the government has assured its arrival within the month of February. Meanwhile, other high-ranking government officials expressed their willingness to be vaccinated first in order to boost the vaccine confidence in the country. Based on the January Pulse Asia survey result, almost half of country's population do not want to be vaccinated due to safety concerns. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police leadership said that 37% of the police force are hesitant to get vaccinated against coronavirus disease 2019. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
Only 63% of the country's police force are willing or have shown interest in getting vaccinated against COVID-19. According to PNP Deputy Chief per Administration, Police Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar says 37% are still hesitant due to various reasons. This, according to the official, is bothersome due to the nature of their work.
Sinasabi nga natin na lalo na dito sa epicenter or Metro Manila, other places, kailangan ng protection ng police at kailangan nila magbabakuna. So we are trying our best to persuade them or to convince them na magpabakuna. Hindi pinipilit, kung hindi para maliwanagan ang importance ito.
When Eleazar asked some high-ranking officials if they trust the vaccine and are willing to be vaccinated, their answer was,
As the commander of JTF CB Shield, I'm ready to be vaccinated with any brand.
I second the motion.
I'm ready for any kind of vaccine.
How about
Because
Dide?
I believe that this all went through process and approved by the different health organizations.
Elyasar adds 700 of their personnel will be included in the first batch of vaccination. They are PNP medical frontliners deployed in hospitals, quarantine and swabbing facilities. Also included are the members of the Medical Reserve Force, Reactionary Standby Support Force, and contact tracers.
Kulang talaga kung sa kulang yun kasi we have 219,000 personnel. So, prioritizing yan and naka-ready tayo once na available na ito mga ito. That's why meron na tayong vaccination plan for our personnel.
Elyasar also divulged that some of the policemen prefer the vaccine made by Pfizer. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, 34 hospitals in the country will receive the initial batch of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines that will arrive in the country this month. One of these hospitals is the University of the Philippine General Hospital, where majority of its personnel are in favor to get the COVID-19 jabs. Aiko Miguel will give us more details live. Yes, Aiko, good evening.
Yes, William, good evening. 117,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine from Pfizer-BioNTech are supposed to arrive in the country today, but there's a delay due to some ongoing processing of documents. William, the health department, on the other hand, said they have a list of the hospitals that will first receive the supply of vaccines. Aside from the University of the Philippines, Philippine General Hospital, Dr. Jose N. Rodriguez Memorial Hospital, Lung Center of the Philippines, and East Avenue Medical Center, 30 more hospitals are included in the DOH's master list. Here is Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, the spokesperson of the Department of Health.
Metro Manila and one in Cebu and one in Davao. So ito pong mga hospital na ito, binigyan po ng directive that they should be able to submit to us their verified list of vaccinees plus their quick substitution list. Ngayon po, ito over the weekend. Ang aking feedback kaninang umaga, most of the hospitals were able to submit yung kompletong listahan. Meron lang pong mga ospital na yung kanilang quick substitution list ay hindi pa ho kompleto. So we have 34 hospitals in all that are eligible to receive this Pfizer vaccine.
William, according to UPPGH, they are well prepared for the inoculations as they have also conducted vaccine simulation last week. What challenges them now is that they have to find a supplier for a low dead space syringe needed for the inoculation. From the 6,316 priority list of UPPGH personnel, 5,745 of them have pre-registered and are willing to be inoculated. According to UPPGH Director Dr. Gaple Gaspi, this is a good indication that their personnel trust the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines and the government's vaccination plan. Here is Dr. Gaple Gaspi, the Director of the UPPGH.
Maari nga nagkaroon ng higher confidence nung sinabing Pfizer at dahil nga nung actual registration 94% na yung acceptance nung vaccination.
William, 671 UPPGH personnel meanwhile have not yet registered for the program. The hospital assures they are prepared whether adverse events may be experienced after their inoculation.
Palagay ko kung mag-iiba ang brand ng bakuna, dapat maghanda lalo ang hospital sa quick substitution list. Meaning, kung ayaw ng iba, dapat meron ng kadikit na listahan. And I think there will be a lot willing to take whatever vaccine counts based on our survey para ipalit doon sa mga nagbago ng isip. Baka aabot po ng 3,000 yung naghihintay na on standby para mabakunahan po.
William, UPPGH's cold storage facility can store 40,000 vaccine doses. There are also 2 low freezers in the hospital that can store Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines. And that is the latest live. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Aiko Miguel, reporting live. The Department of Health is verifying the 6 new confirmed B117 variant case in the country. One of the additional cases linked to the cluster of COVID-19 infections reported in the Metro Rail Transit 3 depot. Aiko Miguel is back to explain why.
A 46-year-old woman from Pasay City and a parent of an MRT3 employee tested positive for the more contagious coronavirus variant. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said the woman tested positive of COVID-19 on January 25 and is currently undergoing home quarantine. The health department is still confirming if this is the first local case of B.1.1.7 variant in the National Capital Region. In January, more than 40 employees of MRT3 had been found positive for COVID-19. The depot was placed under enhanced access control due to COVID-19 cases. The health department has yet to report if the samples in the MRT cluster were submitted for genome sequencing to determine the presence of the new variant first seen in the United Kingdom. Other cases identified by the DOH are from Mountain Province, Cavite, Bukidnon, and Las Piñas. But one case details has still to be verified.
The 49-year-old male Rizal area, and we are still trying to investigate if this case is a returning OFW.
B.1.1.7 COVID-19 variant in the Philippines remain at 44. The DOH again states that there is no sufficient basis yet to declare a community transmission of the more transmissible variant in the country.
For this B.1.1.7 or the UK variant, wala pa ho tayong sapat na ebidensya para makapagsabi that we have already community transmission of this variant. Kasi nga po, yung atin pong samples that we get are still not at that level na masasabi natin na it can already provide us with that predictive factor for community transmission.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The government's pandemic task force has approved the deferment of the reopening of cinemas in areas under general community quarantine. Joanne Nano tells us why.
Due to the opposition of Metro Manila mayors on the reopening of cinemas in general community quarantine areas, the interagency task force has decided to defer the opening of cinemas on March 1, subject to the approval of the mayors and also the issuance of implementing guidelines on the health and safety protocols as well as proper ventilation among enclosed areas. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque clarifies that there was no contradiction between the policies of the IATF and the LGUs on relaxing the quarantine restrictions.
Hindi naman po natin sinasabi na automatic na mula ngayon magiging epektibo yan dahil nasa lokal na pamahalaan po yan na bumuo ng kanilang mga operational guidelines. So ngayon po, ang status nito, ang pagpapatupad po ng pagbubukas ng sinihan, kung matutuloy po, ay Marso 1. Kinakailangan po ipagpatuloy ang consultations at kinakailangan po bumuo ng guidelines ang mga lokal na pamahalaan bago po mabuksan ang mga sinihan.
Among the local chief executives who are not in favor in opening the cinemas were Marikina City Mayor Marcy Chudoro as well as Pasay City Mayor Emmy Calixto. Mayor Chudoro issued an executive order wherein cinemas, arcades, museums, and other recreational activities in enclosed areas in Marikina City will remain closed.
Naniniwala ang Marikina na mahalagang pagsikapan na maipatupad muna ang isang effective and efficient vaccination program as a prerequisite to easing up of the quarantine measures. Problematic proposition itong pagbubukas ng mga sinihan sapagkat isa tong enclosed area.
While Mayor Calixto argues that cinemas should be open once COVID-19 vaccination rolls out and becomes successful. On the other hand, Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso will consult their city health department and mall operators in the city on the matter of reopening the cinemas.
Nag-aaralan pa namin kasi while it is true that we wanted to open more businesses, as long as are they ready to come up with a plan Yung katulad ng cinema o yung mga nabanggit, hindi naman po pwedeng bibiglayin natin. Kailangan responsable po rin.
The Metro Manila Council is set to meet tonight to tackle their position on the opening of cinemas and will discuss the recommendations with the economic team of the IATF. MMDA Chairman Benhur Abalos, on the other hand, vows that Metro Manila mayors will comply with the decision of the national government, noting that this has a balanced impact on health and economy.
Yung implementing rules and guidelines, uupuan po kagad yan. Kung let's say, sabihin talaga ng IATF, tuloy ang sinihan, wala akong problema, upuan kagad yung guidelines. Kung ano ang desisyon, everyone should respect that.
Meanwhile, the Department of Labor and Employment is tasked to craft guidelines on proper ventilation on enclosed recreational venues such as cinemas and arcades. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health reported 1,685 new cases of the coronavirus disease 2019. This means that there are now a total of 550,860 COVID-19 cases in the country. The DOH also reported 40 new recoveries, bringing the total recoveries to 511,755. As to the number of deaths, 2 new deaths were recorded, which means that there are now a total of 11,517 fatalities due to COVID-19. And less the deaths and recoveries, the DOH said there remain 27,588 active COVID-19 cases in the country.
And for those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The Department of Agriculture will investigate the alleged diversion and overpricing of pork supply. Meanwhile, vendors are still complaining of high prices from suppliers. Ray Pelayo will tell us why. Live. Yes, Ray, good evening.
Good evening, Will. Reports that hog supplies from Mindanao that are supposed to be delivered in markets in Metro Manila are being diverted to other provinces have reached the Department of Agriculture. This prompted the matter that will include the traders that are not following the conditions that the department initially imposed.
Ipa-investiga po natin yan, yung nagtataas ng presyo. Kasi pinaka-importanting kondisyon ni Secretary, yung bibigyan ng subsidy dapat mag-comply sa ating price cap at dapat din sa NCR ang pag-sakot natin, hindi sa labas na NCR.
But traders are also having a hard time finding hogs with the low farm gate prices. The Manila Meat Dealers Association is requesting for a price ceiling to also be imposed to farm gate prices so that they would be able to sell it to vendors at a lower price.
2 araw akong hindi nakahakot kasi wala akong makuna na mababang presyo. Nagtaasan sila lahat. Pangalawa pa, yung mga karating bayan, yun ang kalaban namin. Mas mataas ang offer nila kasi nga hindi sila kasali sa price ceiling.
Meanwhile, officials of the DA and the local government of Caloocan City inspected the pork vendors in a Maypaho market. They were found to be compliant of the 270 and 300 pesos per kilogram price ceiling for Kasib and Liempo respectively. But they are still complaining of not earning enough due to the high price that they get from traders.
Medyo mabigat sir kasi di namin kaya ang presyo tsaka magkano lang patong namin dyan Pero wala rin kami magagawa kaya sumusunod lang kami sa sa reglamento nila
Lugi po kami dahil sa 250 puhunan tapos benta namin to 70 to 300. Dapat lang po mga 220 man lang po yung sabi tulo para okay na po yun sa 217 binta.
Caloocan City Mayor Oka Malapitan said that they are about to pass a resolution to waive the vendors' stall fee like what they did last year when the pandemic started.
Sinusuportahan namin sila. Ang totoo, libre nga yung renta nila eh. Wow. Simula nung pandemya hanggang June 2021, libre.
The DA said more shipment of hogs from Mindanao are coming this week.
Konting tis na lang, siyempre tatamaan dyan yung trader, di ba? Konting sakripisyo lang hanggang may babalik na natin sa tama.
Back to you, Will.
Yes, thank you, Ray Pelayo, reporting live. In other news, local pump prices of petroleum products will be adjusted anew this week as announced by oil firms. In separate advisories, Pilipinas Shell Petroleum Corporation and Sea Oil Philippines Incorporated said they will increase prices per liter of gasoline by 75 centavos, diesel by 1 peso and 25 centavos, and kerosene by 1 peso and 10 centavos. Petro, gas, and clean fuel will also implement the same price increases. The fuel price adjustment will take effect on Thursday, February 16. Other oil firms have yet to make similar announcements. This is the second straight week of hikes for diesel and kerosene and third for gasoline.
Malacanang says the demand of President Rodrigo Duterte for the United States to pay for the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA is not extortion. The palace also lamented the relatively small spending by the U.S. for its security assistance to the Philippines. Rosalie Cos explains why.
An act to support the Filipinos' national interest and not an act of extortion. This is the stand of Malacanang on President Rodrigo Duterte's recent statement demanding the United States for compensation if it wants to continue the Visiting Forces Agreement with the Philippines. Through the VFA, American soldiers are allowed to conduct military exercises in our territory. According to Presidential Spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque, the Chief Executive's pronouncement is for our national interest.
Hindi po yung extortion. Yan po ay isang pagtaguyod ng pangnasyonal na interes ng mga Pilipino. At dahil marami po tayong gastusin, lalong-lalo na sa COVID-19, bakit hindi tayo sumingil? Nang sa ganon, yung perang makukuha natin, magagamit natin para sa COVID response natin.
The palace official also mentioned about the Stimson Center study on U.S. counterterrorism spending, in which he compared the assistance given to the Philippines with Pakistan. The Philippines was given $3.9 billion amount of assistance from 2001 to 2017, while Pakistan got $16.4 billion. The palace insisted the Philippines should be getting an amount similar or close to that of Pakistan.
Naman nating ipagkait sa ating mga kababayan ang karagdagang pondo, ngayon pwede naman talagang pagbayarin ang mga Amerikano para sa paggamit ng ating teritoryo.
Malacanang said if America will not agree with this, the plan of the government to abrogate the Visiting Forces Agreement may push through. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A Senate panel has resumed its hearing on proposals to establish a department dedicated to overseas Filipinos. However, some senators raised concerns over the proposed new agency. Arlene Delgado will tell us why.
The proposal to create a new department that will focus on the concerns of all overseas Filipinos has been tackled by the Senate Committee on Labor today. According to Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles, the proposed creation of Department of Overseas Filipinos or DOFIL will also support the right sizing of the government's bureaucracy, as it will unify the offices under the Labor and Foreign Affairs departments that are dedicated to concerns of overseas Filipinos. While Philippine Overseas and Employment Administration or POEA and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA will remain as attached agencies. Nograles said the new agency will also help DOLE to focus on issues concerning local workers. But some senators have concerns.
Parang nagsisignal rin ho tayo na gusto ho natin dumami pa yung nagtatrabaho sa abroad. At parang sa mga ordinaryong kababayan ho natin, Ang sinasabi natin, okay lang umalis ho kayo sa abroad dahil meron tayong isang departamento na hahawak sa mga ganitong issues at problema ho natin.
Hindi naman po, no? In fact, the bill also provides for a mandatory review after 10 years. And the mandatory review really is the signal na alam po natin na in the long term, ang gusto po natin talaga ay makabalik at makapagtrabaho ang ating mga Filipinos overseas, maka-establish ng kanilang sariling negosyo at hanap buhay dito po sa bansang Pilipinas.
Senator Amy Marcos also suggested to create an authority through an executive order instead of a whole new agency, given that the country is still in a pandemic. This as the Budget Department estimates that at least 1 billion pesos is needed to put up the proposed agency. Senator Nancy Binay, for her part, also asked how the new department would address the current pressing issues such as illegal recruitment and human trafficking. Senate Committee on Labor Chairperson Joel Villanueva also noted that based on DOLE's data, few illegal recruitment convictions were made in the previous years. According to Labor Secretary Silvestre Abello III, most of the victims are withdrawing the case, while the recruiters are now foreign-based.
Many of our victims of illegal recruitments are willing victims, Your Honors. Alam na nila na mali yung pinapasukan nila, and yet they gamble with the offers of these illegal recruiters.
Yung pag-create ba ng DOLPHIL will stop this practice?
If we have a DOLPHIL, a specific government agency that will address the problem of all OFWs, this may discourage people from abusing our OFWs.
The Senate panel will hold another hearing on the proposed measures. The House of Representatives passed its Department of Filipinos Overseas Act in March last year. In December, President Rodrigo Duterte certified the bill as urgent. Jorge Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Foreigners with valid visas can enter the Philippines starting tomorrow but are subject to strict health and quarantine protocols. Dante Amento will give us more details live. Dante, go ahead.
Diego, the IATF EID in its resolution allowed foreigners with valid visas, including personnel of accredited international organizations and a spouse and minor children of Filipino citizens to visit the Philippines. Foreigners with visas issued beyond March 20, 2020 need to present an exemption document from the Philippine embassies or consulates abroad. All foreign nationals allowed to enter the country must have present or pre-booked accommodation for at least 6 nights in an accredited quarantine hotel or facility. They must also be subject to COVID-19 testing on the 6th day from the date of their arrival in the country. Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval says they have been coordinating with the Tourism Department to check whether the booking accommodations are authentic. If a foreigner presented a fake booking, the DOT will refer the passenger to the BI for possible deportation.
Kasama po niyan, hindi lang po basta deportation, blacklisting po dito sa bansa for being an undesirable alien. Meaning, hindi na po natin sila papasukin muli dito sa bansa. So, it will serve po as a warning to foreign nationals who might want to evade being quarantined as required by the government.
Meanwhile, BI is not expecting for a major upsurge in the number of arriving foreigners since they have still subject to the maximum capacity of inbound passengers set by the Task Force for COVID-19. And that's the latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Dante Amento, reporting live.
The Commission on Elections says campaign practices will differ for the 2022 polls. Meanwhile, Comelec extends voter registration hours to bolster its turnout. Asher Kadaban Jr. will tell us why.
The Commission on Elections prescribes the calendar of activities as well as the prohibited acts for the 2022 national and local elections. Based on Comelec Resolution number 1069, national and local candidates should file their Certificate of Candidacy or COC for the 2022 polls from the 1st to the 8th of October this year. All campaign activities will be done in the following year, where national candidates will be allowed to such conduct from February 8 to May 7, while the local level will be from March 25 to May 7. But due to the crisis brought about by the pandemic, Comelec expects different campaign strategies than usual from candidates.
As a general principle, tanggapin na natin na hindi na magiging kapareho ng lumang pangangampanya ang makikita nating pangangampanya sa ngayon. Obviously, magbabago dahil babawasan natin hanggat maaari yung face-to-face campaigning.
The election period will start on January 9 and will last until June 8, 2022. During this time, a gun ban will be implemented, but personnel from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police, and other law enforcement agencies authorized by the Commission are exempted. A liquor ban will also be imposed from May 8, 2022 until the election day. Overseas voters can cast their votes from April 10, 2022 to May 9, 2022, while local absentee voting will run from the 27th to the 29th of April 2022. Those eligible can apply for absentee voting until March 7 of the same year. While all these activities are yet to commence, Comelec is putting all efforts in registering more new eligible registrants for the 2022 polls. Based on the recent record of the agency, only 1.3 million out of the 4 million projected number have registered. Voter registration ends on September 30, 2021. To help bolster the voter registration turnout, Comelec extended registration hours and days nationwide. Effective today, they will now serve from 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. from Tuesdays to Saturdays, including holidays. Designated Disinfection Day in Comelec offices was moved to Mondays from its previous schedule on Fridays, unless the corresponding local government unit says otherwise. For those registering as overseas voters, they can submit their application to any of the local field registration centers of Comelec from 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Mondays to Fridays. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez continuously appeals to new registrants to promptly participate in the voter registration.
So yun yung dalawang pinakamahalagang dahilan kung bakit ka kailangan bumoto. Una, dahil karapatan mo yan, libre yan, nasa sayo na yan, sayang naman kung hindi mo gagamitin. Pangalawa, dahil bahagi ka ng lipunan at may pagkakataon kang ayusin ang sistema ng pamamalakad sa iyong bansa.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern ordered a snap lockdown here at Auckland for the first time in nearly 6 months after 3 coronavirus cases emerged in the community. The measures will last 3 days and require residents to stay at home. Director General of Health Dr. Ashley Bloomfield said that an investigation is still underway as to how the family contracted the virus. New Zealand has been widely praised for its handling of the pandemic, with just 25 deaths in a population of almost 5 million. Myanmar's junta shuts down the internet as tanks are deployed and troops open fire to break up the coup protest. Marvy Delphine will give us the details live. Marvy?
LC, after 10 days of mass demonstrations demanding a return to civilian rule, local media showed live footage broadcasted online of the large-scale rollout of armored vehicles in Yangon, Marikina, and Sittwe. Internet access has been largely cut off as residents reported outages across Myanmar amid fears of a crackdown on anti-coup protesters. All 4 telecommunications networks were also inaccessible from about 1 a.m. local time today. Trains in parts of the country has stopped running as railway staff refuse to go to work. As the strike of civil workers continue, the military rulers has threatened action, ordering civil servants to go back to work. On Saturday, the army started carrying out nightly mass arrests and giving itself sweeping powers to detain people and search private property without court approval. Many areas have begun forming neighborhood watch brigades to monitor their communities overnight in defiance of the imposed curfew. In a statement, a spokesperson for United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said he was deeply concerned about the situation in the country, including the increasing use of force and the reported deployment of additional tanks to major cities. Western embassies from the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, and 11 other nations have released a statement on Twitter calling on security forces to refrain from violence against demonstrators and civilians who are protesting the overthrow of their legitimate government. The detention of ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi was due to expire today, but will remain in custody for a further 2 days after a judge had said that she was remanded. Elsie?
All right, Marvy, thank you for that live update on the Myanmar situation. Guinea has declared the new Ebola outbreak 5 years after it was declared Ebola-free. Mavian Dog will give us more details live. Yes, Maeve?
Elsie, in accordance with international health regulations, Guinea's health ministry declared an Ebola pandemic after 3 people died and 4 became ill in the country's southeast. The 7 people suffered from diarrhea, vomiting, and bleeding after attending a burial in Gueke near the Liberian border and were isolated in treatment centers according to the health ministry on Sunday. Dr. Yuma Taido of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Society said that it is not yet clear how the people became infected with the virus, but the response team will be heading to the epicenter of the outbreak today. According to the state health agency, a second round of tests is being carried out to confirm this diagnosis. Health workers are also working towards tracing and isolating the contacts of the cases. The deaths are the first since the 2013 to 2016 Ebola pandemic, which also began in Guinea and left 11,300 dead across West Africa, with majority of cases emerging from Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Meanwhile, WHO representative in Guinea, Georges Alfred Kizerbo, said in a report that they are now in contact with the vaccine's manufacturer to ensure that the doses of Ebola vaccine are made available as quickly as possible. Elsie?
Thank you, Mavian Dog, live from Australia. The United Arab Emirates' first mission in Mars has returned its first picture of the red planet, the 5th country in history to reach the red planet and first for the Arab world. Ia De Vera will give the details to us live. Yes, Ia?
Elsie, the UAE's first Mars mission, known as the Hope probe, has arrived on the red planet on Tuesday, capturing the first picture of the planet after successfully entering the orbit on its first attempt. A statement from mission's Twitter account, together with the planet's image, was posted on Sunday, saying that Hope probe's first image of Mars is a defining moment in UAE's history and marks the country joining advanced nations involved in space exploration. The picture was captured by Hope's EXI instrument on Wednesday from an altitude of 24,700 kilometers above the Martian surface. Hope also has instrument that can collect atmospheric data points, which helps scientists to study the planet's weather and climate systems. Moreover, one of its missions is to study the leakage into space of neutral atoms of oxygen and hydrogen for more understanding of how a previously warm and wet planet became cold, dusty, and dry. Hope probe was one of the 3 Mars missions that launched last July, together with China's Tianwen-1, which successfully entered the planet's orbit on Wednesday, and NASA's Perseverance rover, which will land on Mars on Thursday this week. Elsie?
Thank you, Ia De Vera from Hamilton, New Zealand. Meanwhile, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex excitedly announced that they are expecting their second child. Early Briones reports.
Prince Harry and Meghan on Sunday, February 14, announced their excitement in expecting their second child as Archie now becomes a big brother. The announcement was accompanied by a touching black and white photo where the Duke and Duchess lay on the grass, with eyes lovingly on each other and Meghan's bump visibly shown. The photograph was taken and posted on Instagram by photographer and longtime friend Nisan Hariman. Hariman also expressed her love, joy, and well wishes for the couple. The child will now be 8 in line to the British throne. A spokesperson from the Royal Buckingham Palace stated that the Queen, along with the rest of the royal family, are just as delighted and overjoyed to be expecting the new addition to the family. The due date of baby number 2 is not yet confirmed, but the Duke and Duchess continue with their regular lives in Southern California after stepping down from their royal duties and escaping from the UK media. Unfortunately, baby number 2 may be the last baby of Prince Harry and Meghan. The Duke ever since has planned to have just 2 children maximum. He told chimpanzee expert Jane Goodall back in 2019 that this is his contribution to the betterment of the planet. Early Briones, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
Back to the stories in the Philippines. The government will begin dredging the Marikina River this week as the Department of Environment and Natural Resources found out that lot parcels were illegally reclaimed. JP Nunez reports.
The Marikina City government joined forces with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DENR to kick off a dredging and widening activity in Marikina River. It aims to dredge and widen the river with a span of 11 kilometers. According to Marikina City Mayor Marcy Chodoro, this is the solution the government see to avoid flash floodings in the city when heavy rains occur.
Napakahalaga nito sapagkat heavily silted na ang Marikina River. Nabawasan na yan ng mga 3 hanggang 4 na metro ang lalim nito. Kaya yung siltation na yon ay nagkaroon ng water displacement sa Marikina River na konting ulan lamang umaako na ito at nagiging sanhi ng pagbaha.
The DENR states that the upper portion of the Marikina River has a measure of 8 meters deep while 3 to 5 meters only as it merges with Pasig River. They will also conduct bamboo planting activity on the riverbanks of Barangay Industrial Valley Complex to help prevent erosion and siltation of soils. The dredging and widening activity will start at Barangay Kalumpang in Marikina City. DENR Secretary Roy Simato also revealed that some portion of the river easement has been reclaimed without proper legal documents. Based on a recent land survey, the DENR said a total of 271,625 square meters were reclaimed without the necessary permits, either partially or completely encroaching into the Marikina River. DENR said this was in violation of Section 51 of Presidential Decree 1067 or the Philippine Water Code, which prohibits the construction of any permanent structure within 3 meters of the banks of rivers and lakes in urban areas, as these areas are reserved for public use. JP Nunez, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, February 15, 2021. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.